I think it is very safe to say that if you go and ask a lot of AFL fans out there who they've got finishing last in 2025, pretty much nearly everyone and their dad will say Richmond. Again, I'm a massive Richmond fan, and I would genuinely be so surprised if we didn't finish last in 2025. It's not just only the fact that we lost our best players in Daniel Rioli, Shea Bolton, and of course, even Jack Graham was good once upon a time, and Liam Baker there as well. You also got to remember, Richmond brought in 8 new players through the 2024 AFL draft. Literally, 8 new 18-year-olds coming into your team is pretty much like a quarter of your list, and you can't expect a bunch of 18-year-olds who are probably going to play a lot of games to be able to really help you much at all. Like, for God's sakes, when I was 18, I don't even think I knew what a girl was. So, again, we can't be really having too many high expectations on these guys at all. So, I think it's very obvious that Richmond are most likely going to have the number 1 pick in 2025, as well as another good pick coming from North Melbourne, who traded away their future first in 2024 to Richmond, which means that if they are finish third last, which a lot of people predict they will, that means Richmond could have picks 1 and 3. So they'll definitely be going back to the draft and hitting that kind of harder than what Chris Brown did to Rihanna 15 years ago. So it will be very interesting to see who they go for. But something else that a lot of people aren't necessarily talking about is the fact that next season, Richmond should probably have some of the most free salary cap money to spend out of nearly every team in AFL history. If you think about it, in 2024, Richmond had Dustin Martin retired, who was the highest paid player in the game on about 1.5. Shea Bolton get traded, who apparently Fremantle took on like his whole entire contract, which was worth 1.1 million. I believe he was the 7th highest paid player in the game. And in 2025, Richmond will have Tom Lynch expire, who is the highest paid player of 2025 in about 1.6 million, according to Herald Sun. That means over these 2 years, Richmond should have freed up a ton of salary cap space. And that's not even talk about other players like Dion Prestia, who also go out of contract at the end of next year. So this has got me thinking that, considering the AFL forces teams to use up all their salary cap by the end of the season, this really does make me think that not only are Richmond going to hit the draft, but I think they're going to go after free agency pretty heavy as well, and we'll definitely be looking at a pretty good player or two. But again, before we do get into all of that and who I think Richmond will probably target, again, there's still a decent amount of you guys who watch these videos who are not yet subscribed to the channel. So if you guys could do me a massive favor and leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for all latest sports content, AFL content, Richmond content, all of the above, it would mean a lot to me. And I guess without further ado, we'll get straight into it, because not only do I think Richmond will go after like at least one, but they're going to go after, I think, a couple players in 2025. And what a free agency offseason would it be if Richmond came away with the number 1 overall pick, the number 3 overall pick, and 2 really good free agents, which I think the Tigers have the capability of doing. Now, of course, there is a list of players who are available who are pretty good. You've got Brandon Starcevich from the Brisbane Lions, the star up-and-coming Carlton ruck, Tom De Koning, Fremantle midfielder Andrew Brayshaw, again, North Melbourne's Luke Davies-Uniacke, are probably the 4 best available free agents. Again, there's a couple others here and there. Of course, Sam Draper from the Essendon Football Club, who a lot of reports are saying could very well look to make a move. And I mean, Marcus Bontempelli, who I'm probably wasting breath and time off my life. It'd be kind of pointless to talk about him going, because even though he was a massive Richmond fan as a kid, I think that kind of means absolutely nothing, and he will get paid a crap ton to re-sign with the Dogs. I mean, Tom Lynch was a massive Collingwood fan as a kid, and when Collingwood offered him a contract to join their team, he picked Richmond over them. So going for the team that you went for as a kid and looking at them as a free agent option, it really doesn't mean anything at all. So we won't even talk about Bont. It won't be in consideration. But there were two players that we mentioned who I think Richmond will first and foremost really, really target. And that does happen to be De Koning and, of course, Sam Draper. Again, I've got a couple other players in mind who I will talk about in a second. But I want to talk about De Koning real quick, because De Koning right now, if I know right, I think signed for about 750 to 800k for Carlton. And there were rumours that when he signed that 2-year deal, that he was going to be getting about 5-year contract offers worth 800k or so. And we now know that De Koning has really, really pushed that number up. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is his absolute breakout year and he does, assert himself as a top 3, top 4 ruckman in the game. And I wouldn't be surprised if next year there are teams who come up to him and say, look, we'll give you 900k over 5 years to come and join our team. And I just don't think Carlton are going to be able to match that. Again, as we know, Carlton are apparently the tightest team right now in the AFL salary. They really can't move anywhere at all. And again, there were rumours for a while they were interested in Houston, and then it was revealed like their salary was actually that tight. It was almost physically impossible to get Dan Houston in. Again, they tried some things. They moved on Matthew Kennedy, which that was a good decision, because not only was he on some money, but they needed to change their midfield dynamic up a little bit. So they moved on him. A couple players will go and be free agents next year, like I think a Lewis Young might be, and a couple other players. But even then, it's going to be very tough to, I think, sign De Koning to this deal when there are going to be other teams who are going to be offering him massive contracts. And if Carlton do, they're going to be freaking tighter than a... Jeez, I was about to make a very inappropriate joke, but you know what? I don't plan on being demonetized today. They will be extremely tight, is what I'm trying to say here. And I don't know. A part of me thinks it's probably like a 70% chance he does re-sign, but I think there's a 30% chance that a team like Richmond comes out over and is like, look, we've got this really good young team. We want to now start adding some depth to it as well. We want to give you a 5-year deal worth 800 and 900k a year. And then you can come on our team. You can be with these midfielders for the next, how many years of your career, and we can really make something work. And it's also I think that he would actually work well with Toby Nankervis as well. So whenever De Koning needs a break in the ruck, which we know that's been kind of one of his issues throughout his career, is he hasn't always been able to be 100% a ruckman, then I think he could go down and play some forward while Nank played in the ruck, which, again, could very well happen. The other guy is Draper. Now, I don't think Richmond will be the team that gets him, although I think Sam Draper is a massive chance to leave. Essendon, I do think that, considering they kind of had Goldstein over him towards the end of the year, and it doesn't seem like he's their long-term guy, I think another team will offer him a deal out there, and a team like Adelaide will come and they'll offer him a good deal, I think, as well. But yeah, I think Richmond will be in the market, but I don't think they will necessarily go after him to the full extent. I think De Koning will be their priority. But the other player I mentioned earlier that I think Richmond will be super, super keen on does happen to be Aaron Cadman. Now, Aaron Cadman is a really interesting player right now because he's going into his 3rd season with the GWS Giants. And his first season wasn't that good. His second season, he showed a lot of signs. But it's going to be starting to be the time now where he starts to break out as a player. The thing is, I actually don't know how keen GWS are going to be on fully keeping him, considering they've got Jesse Hogan, who has absolutely broken out, and I think will hopefully continue this for the next couple of years. They've got a couple other key forward players here and there that have come through. Cadman is also there. But I think if a big Victorian club offered Cadman a massive deal like Richmond, I think possibly will, I don't know if they will re-sign him. Again, I think Cadman, let's just say he goes out this year and he plays all 23 games and he kicks 35 to 40 goals, which he could very well do. And even if he only kicks 30 to 35, it's a second option that's pretty good. I think a team like Richmond will come pretty hard. pause, and will offer him a massive deal. I also believe he's very, very close mates with Sam Lawler and Jonty Fall, especially Sam Lawler, who they all played at Greater Western Victoria together. And look, I know Richmond hit the draft really hard and brought in Armstrong, Fall, and Sims to play key forward for them over the next couple of years. But historically, you know, only one or two of them will go on to be a good AFL player. And I think most likely Fall and, you know, Armstrong should be, but it's very tough to know. And with Tom Lynch retiring most likely at the end of next year or whatever he's going to be doing, there is a massive opportunity right now for Richmond to potentially build a really good trio of key forwards in Cadman, Fall, and Armstrong. And Fall could obviously go and play as the backup ruckman if needed. And just imagine that, like, you know, 5 big man rotation that the Tigers would have if they did get De Koning and Cadman. Again, this is a lot of NBA 2K, a lot of dreaming right here. But De Koning is your main ruckman, Nanker's your backup, with 3 key forwards, which most teams do roll with nowadays, in Fall, Cadman, and Armstrong. That would be absolutely insane to see. And realistically, I think all 3 of them could play together because they all kind of fill a different purpose. You've got Fall, who's that big, crash the pack, marking key forward. You've got Armstrong, the key forward, who can not only play close to home, but can move up the grounds, being compared to a Jeremy Cameron. And then you've got Cadman, the really good leading key forward as well. I think that could be something really good the Tigers could definitely look at. And then last but not least, I left this one for last because I think this one is by far the most likely not to be happening, is Zach Butters is actually a free agent in 2026. And it's been said that a lot of teams are really going to try and attract him in 2025. I don't really think Richmond will offer him a deal. I don't think he'll leave Port. I think Port will offer him a deal that will make him probably the highest paid player nearly in the game. He is legitimately that good. But God, he would really fit in well to that Richmond midfield. The age bracket there as well, and what the Tigers needing, and some speed and craftiness in that midfield too. He would really fit it, and I wouldn't be surprised if Richmond also offered him a contract that made him the highest paid player in the game. I just think Port Adelaide will do it. I think he likes it over at Port, and I mean, there's not really much of a point of him leaving. He's their vice captain too, so I don't think that's really going to happen. But I think Cadman is honestly a big chance to leave GWS, and I think Richmond will be the number 1 suitor. And I think De Koning is a slight chance to leave Carlton, and I think Richmond will probably be the number 1 suitor. So I do like the Tigers potentially targeting those players. What a free agency and off-season it would be if the Tigers managed to bring in pick 1, 3, you know, De Koning and Cadman. That would be legitimately pretty crazy. Drafting the 2 best midfielders probably, getting the best ruckman in the free agency and the best key forward in there. Really having that spine, it would just be so goddamn insane. And yeah, it's a lot of NBA 2K. Probably only 10% of what I've talked about in this video will happen, but it's cool to fantasize and talk about before the season really does get started. But again, if you haven't already, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for all the latest AFL content and news. Comment your thoughts and opinions down below. Who do you guys think the Tigers are going to target with all these salary cap that they're going to have, and what players are they going to throw money at? Again, I'd very much like to know. Subscribe to my gaming channels, my IRL/long channels. Links for them will be in the description down below. And I guess I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.